The ICU is the department in the hospital with the highest mortality rate, also known as the intensive care unit. So what kind of strange stories might happen here? Today's story comes from Xiao Tong, a netizen who works in the ICU. A few years ago, a young girl named Su Hong was involved in a car accident on one of their 12 beds. She was in her 20s. Unfortunately, she could not be successfully rescued, and she passed away. The day after she went missing, another patient, a young girl named Li Xin with lupus, who was very clear-headed, suddenly became delusional one day. Delirium is a professional term, also known as acute brain syndrome, characterized by disturbances of consciousness, disorganized behavior, purposelessness, and inability to concentrate, which is also quite common in clinical practice. When the doctor asked her what was wrong, the young girl did not answer, always saying no, I won't do it. This situation lasted for 10 minutes and then suddenly improved. The doctors wanted to assess the patient's consciousness and asked her name. This time, the young girl had a strange smile on her face and did not speak. After being asked many times, the girl said, "My name is Su Hong, the name of the last girl who passed away." At that time, Xiao Tong was really scared, but fortunately, Li Xin later returned to normal. After being transferred to another hospital, a 17-year-old boy who was also in a car accident came. What's rare is that this boy was very clear-headed. That night, Xiao Tong was on the night shift. Around 10 o'clock, the boy suddenly shouted frantically, "Sister, help me! Sister, come to save me!" Xiao Tong quickly went over. The first step in assessing the patient's consciousness was the same. The boy, named Li Haoran, answered anxiously when Xiao Tong asked, "Do you know where you are?" "I know, I'm in the hospital, I had a car accident." Xiao Tong asked him again, "What's your name?" "My name is Li Haoran, with the 3 water Hao." Then the boy said, "Sister, I'm very clear, I'm not talking nonsense, please save me." At this time, Xiao Tong understood a bit, it was definitely not a problem with consciousness. So she asked, "What's wrong? How can sister help you?" The boy said, "Ah, you push me, I can't lie flat, he's pressing on me and choking me, I'm going to suffocate." Xiao Tong asked, "Who is pressing you?" "What does the sister with long hair look like?" At this time, Xiao Tong thought of the deceased Su Hong from the car accident and called other colleagues to help push the boy. But the boy was still very scared, saying, "They are still pushing me." So they gave him the kind of turning over on his left and right. After 5 or 6 minutes, the boy suddenly calmed down and said, "Sister, it's okay." Then he apologized to Xiao Tong, "Sister, I'm sorry, I scared you. I'm not silly, and I didn't deliberately make things difficult for you. Just now he really wanted to strangle me, I'm sorry, I scared you." It was obvious that the boy's thinking was very clear, so Xiao Tong was sure it was not a problem with consciousness. But she didn't tell him about Su Hong's previous incident, which suddenly scared him. Later, the boy was also very lucky, he recovered, and then was discharged. Then there was another little girl, very young, about 10 years old. Many years ago, she couldn't survive in Xiao Tong's department. Xiao Tong forgot the specific disease. But many years after her death, there would always be old patients saying, "How come there are still children here?" But there were no pediatric patients at the time, and everyone didn't care about 1 or 2 times, because ICU patients often have mental problems, that is, ICU syndrome. But later, the increasing number of times attracted Xiao Tong's attention, and she began to ask those who saw it, "What does this girl look like? What is she wearing?" Then the answer was surprisingly consistent, wearing red clothes, with 2 braids, running back and forth in the ward. Except for the car, the color of the clothes and the two braids all matched with the little girl many years ago. There was also a time when colleague A chatted while eating, saying that she dreamed of a patient who had passed away before while sleeping in the duty room. Several colleagues also said that they had the same dream while sleeping in the duty room. I don't know if others have also dreamed, so what this time it was said openly, and everyone found that the dream was the same. It was all the patient saying that it was good over there, with good food and clothing, and asking them to go with him. And everyone found that when they were dreaming, they were sleeping in the same bed. The colleagues felt something was wrong, so they looked under the bed. As a result, they found the special nursing records of this patient when he was hospitalized under this bed. Later they dealt with it, and this strange thing never happened again. Then there was another young lady, very strange, even a bit funny. One night, she was playing King of Glory on the night shift. At that time, she was using a warrior, because she had been playing for a while and was relatively poor. Suddenly, she heard a voice beside her saying, "Open the big, open the big." Why don't you open the big? But because she was poor, she was very anxious and died before she could open the big. The little sister turned her head and replied, "What are you shouting about? You know the result of this turn." After the game, the little sisters dared not play games on the night shift again. It seems that this chicken dish is really unpopular there. Well, see you for the next story.